Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Point3Podcast live stream Wednesdays. Lou, Hero Scroll, Spider Brando, your favorite hero. Oh, trio of hosts. I'm messing up on our own intro. Oh, and we're live. This is terrible. Everyone knows now.
No replaying.
No, there's no pausing, and we don't do that either. Everything that you guys hear is first take. No edits on this channel. Just kidding. But welcome everyone into our live stream. We have a massive Wednesday to chat about. If you've been living under a rock, then you probably don't know anything that we're going to say. But today, can we just say that Wednesdays feel like the hot days? Like we get like the hot goss. It drops on Wednesdays. And it's like Marvel and everyone they know. They're just like, you guys need some content? We got some content. Here you go. But we have a packed hour for you all. We are going to go through some news and notes, and then we're also going to take a deep dive, and we are going to chat about what you see on screen here. Shout out to Spider Brando, the gifted mad scientist who puts together tons of graphics for the Point3Podcast. No, you can't steal him, but you can pay him lots of money. He stays with us. We're going to be talking about the Marvels movie, breaking it down, but we got some drops. Do you want to just get right into it? Spoiler warning, by the way. Big spoiler warning.
Always spoilers.
If you don't know what we're doing here at this point, then that's on you. That's on you. But if you're new, yes, spoiler warnings. We are going to spoil the entire Marvels movie later on in the deep dive. So if you haven't watched it, watch this if you still want to get spoiled, and then watch the Marvels, and then come back, and you'll have an even better perspective.
Yep. But when you watch the video again, you got to stand in the middle of the lobby at the movie theater, and everyone's gonna be like, "What are you doing?" Like, I got to finish my episode of the Point3Podcast. Like, it's priority. I can't drive home. I got to watch them. But listen, Madam Web trailer dropped today. We knew it was coming, gents. What'd you guys think of it? What's just like the feel? What vibes did you get here? What'd you feel?
So I'll be honest, I didn't know it was dropping till you put it in our Discord. So
Wonderful Discord.
If our wonderful Discord. So if you haven't joined us there, make sure you do. But I genuinely didn't know. And then I think after you sent that message that it was dropping, it dropped about 5 minutes after, because it wasn't really like a confirmed thing. It was more of a rumor. It's interesting. If you saw our YouTube short, that's kind of, I think, the consensus, and I'm not going to talk for everybody, but it looks interesting. That's what I'll say, especially if we're going to save it for a future video. It's interesting.
Yeah, I had to chew on this one for a minute. When I saw it, I was like, I had to get over the whole like Sony Spider-Verse attempt that is just not proven to be fruitful by any means.
No.
But I'm like, okay, whenever I hear Madam Web, I always think of the 90s animated Spider-Man and like the OG Madam Web who's just like making it happen. And I'm like, how do you ever top that or bring that to live action? Did we see Madam Web in this trailer?
Yes.
Who was she? Was she the person on like the train or the bus or something who's sitting there? Like who? I don't know.
Wasn't it just Dakota? Isn't it just Dakota Johnson?
Oh, she's Madam Web?
Yeah, she's supposed to be playing the newer Madam Web.
Oh,
because there's two Madam Webs in comics. There's the OG, which is the one that we probably know, and I don't know if love is the word, but the one that we know.
Respect.
That is, the older blind lady. And then I think what happens is that Julia Carpenter, who was Spider-Woman at one point, gets into some accident, is about to die, and then Madam Web's like, all right, here's my life essence into you. You are now Madam Web. So I think in like main Marvel comics, she's the Madam Web right now.
Sick.
And I think that's who they're going with in this movie. Maybe. Because we never really see her like suit up either, so
I know I gotta switch that around a little bit and absorb that. I don't know if I love that. I feel like you're bypassing a lot of things from that standpoint, especially for
Oh,
the 3D.
Sony, they bypass everything.
Yeah, don't be surprised if Venom 3 is a null movie, and they're like, "Hey, King in Black, here you go."
I'd
And
be
like,
so
setup.
disappointed if that was the case.
I'd be so mad. I'd be so mad.
Gosh, you just ruined such a good thing.
Yeah.
There's some things that like need like caressing and just like proper build, and it's just like like you just want to pat them to sleep. And then Sony comes in and they take the keys from Spider Brando and they start the car, but they break the key in the ignition. And they're like, psych. And I'm like, I thought it was a push start. And they're like, nope. 1980s.
What Sony has, they have keys to an electric car that has no battery in it.
I got some double A's over here in my cabinet though, and they're like, "Well, this dude," and they're like, "Will the audience know any difference?" And they're just like,
"Nope."
Oh no, I was like, "Yeah, no one's gonna show up."
They won't, because let's be honest, most people don't.
Isn't that kind of crazy though? Think about it. You have the MCU where people are like, "Oh, we're not showing up," and I'm like, "Okay." And then you have the DCEU and people aren't showing up, and they're like, "Oh, okay." And then you have Sony, and then people aren't showing up, and you're like, "That makes sense."
Yeah. Because it's Sony.
Because it's just crazy how Sony and Fumble the Bag is just synonymous with the Spider-Man characters and their intellectual property. Pisses me off.
Well,
Hopefully it hits though.
I'll tell you, after watching that trailer, it is not Spider Brando Chef's Kiss certified. First time I have ever had to use this.
I love that we all three immediately knew what we had to do. So,
yeah, 100%.
Oh, that's just. I was disappointed. You hype it up about are you pinged if anyone would be able to do a reaction when it drops, and then I had no idea it dropped because I saw like nothing about it on the internet when it actually dropped, and then I went to watch it and I was like, it looks like a CW show in a movie. Like it's just, I don't know. I've been seeing a lot of people agree with it's just something about the look of that movie just doesn't. I just don't feel like it's a movie. I don't know why.
I'm gonna blame this on Morbius. It feels like visually reminiscent of Morbius to me, especially in the trailer, and that's just like
it feels like a C-tier movie, and I don't even know. It doesn't feel like a TV show to me. It feels more like just a plain C-tier movie. Like it's just there,
Do we know its budget?
I'm sure I can find it.
Yeah, I mean, what do we know about this? I mean, we're spending an awful lot of time on Madam Web, but it is going to be probably one of the first things that kicks off. Well, no, because Echo is going to come out in January, and then this comes out for Valentine's
February, yeah.
So that's going to be tough on the heels of Echo from a Marvel standpoint. Am I going to see this movie in theaters?
We still haven't seen Mobius.
Freaking.
Do I want to see this in theaters? Maybe. I'll do it for the channel.
I do it for the channel. I can't find anything,
but I will have to.
Yeah, I can't find anything, but websites are comparing it to Morbius, so which was about 75 million.
Half of it was on the ambulance.
So let's I was going to say let's move on.
That's the real one.
What if season 2 trailer dropped December 22nd? We're getting 9 episodes dropping consecutively, which is day after day, which I think is a neat. They haven't done that before.
9 days?
I think that's cool.
So we got great looks. I'll be honest, it generated excitement for me on What If again. Like,
Yeah.
not that I wasn't excited for What If, it was just something that sat outside of my mind. The trailer dropped, and I'm like, ooh, okay, yeah, I like what we're doing. I like what we're doing.
What If is always seen, like when we go through and do our tier rankings, power rankings, whatever, you name it, you always want to put What If in like the higher, it's a top half thing. But whenever we get to a consensus conversation, it's just like, man, because it doesn't connect, or at least season 1 didn't connect. Saw what they did with Loki. So everything's kind of on the table right now, and they can flip the switch fairly quickly if they wanted to. There's a part of me that's still hoping it's canon to the actual MCU, and we get. You can't let the Spider-Verse do something that Marvel Studios should have done already, but they told some really, really good stories, and I really think that from an episodic standpoint, this is going to be the blueprint back to back. If you're going to drop things, drop it consecutively, keep fans talking, don't let them sit with their thoughts in the internet for too long to sway them left or right, capitalize on momentum, and then you have Echo, everything's dropping at once. It's what people want, and this is why we always say here on the Point3 Podcast, when everyone says there's fatigue, guess what? You don't have to watch everything, and guess what? We're already fiending for the next thing after getting a historical day less than a week ago.
Mm-hmm.
So people want the content, and they're going to give it to us. And I think season 2 is shaping up to be really cool. And I'm really excited to see Kahori, who's the Native American superhero who's being introduced. Trailer made her look awesome.
Yeah. Trailer made her look awesome. The return of Thanos, return of the Watcher, return of Wanda, return of Supreme Strange.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you know that clearly that's probably your best character when you save him for the last reveal.
Yeah.
Come on. Like, I literally was watching it here on the desk, and I was like, oh snap, he's back. I was so excited.
His spot felt, I mean, everyone feels intentional, but his felt like the biggest spot of all.
Deserved.
100%.
I'm not gonna lie, I forgot to watch the trailer. There's a lot of stuff that came out today, all right?
Scratch my whole thing of like
2 trailers. But you just ruined the credibility of Point3 Podcast. Everybody hates us now. I'm kidding.
You guys had great insight.
Okay.
Yeah, you guys want a live reaction as I watch it right now?
Do it. Can we
About,
the next thing's tough.
If I screen share it, does that count as copyright?
I
yes.
think we might get burned down from that one.
Here,
don't take away our
it.
subscribers.
Here, well, this is what we could do. Watch it on the side. We'll talk about the next news piece.
No, we'll skip the next one. We'll
skip it.
Let's skip 2.
Skip 2 and talk to the delays. Yeah, let's talk delays. Yeah, let's talk delays and non
Mad Max.
Yeah, Spider-Brando.
Yeah. It was a good trailer.
Yeah, watch the trailer. We're gonna talk about the delays that Marvel got last week around Thursday, right, or Wednesday. I think, like after our live stream, or I think it was right after the strike ended. So it was
right
Thursday.
after the strike.
Yeah, so Thursday. Marvel completely shifted their release schedule for next year. So as of right now, Deadpool 3 is the only MCU movie releasing July 26th.
Now,
everything else got bumped back to 2025.
To that point, when we go back to what we opened with, that's why Madam Web is kind of important, because the Sonyverse is going to be dominating 2024.
Mm-hmm.
Madam Web, Venom 3, and then Craven.
Yep.
So that interesting to see. Carry on.
Yeah. So again, Deadpool 3, as of right now, only 2024 movie. Captain America delayed to February 15th, 2025, which I think is a very weird delay. This movie's been complete for a while now, it seems like. And
well, you heard the rumors for that. They essentially, I guess, early screen testings were not favorable, and everyone's reporting like 6 months of reshoots are in order.
Man,
which is going to inflate that budget like crazy because they spent a lot of money on my guy Red Hulk.
Yeah. To get Harrison Ford on and CGI. It's just interesting that, again, this movie got another release date, especially after how confident it seemed like they wanted to position it taking Deadpool's spot when Deadpool originally got delayed. So we'll see. Thunderbolts moved to July 25th. 2025. Ooh. And that's going to have some interesting competition, which we're going to talk about in the next piece. But before we get to that, Blade, another delay, going from early 2025 to basically the end of the year, 11/7/2025. So Blade yet again moved.
I have a thought on this real quick, and I'm going to tie this in with another piece of news real quick. Essentially, Destin Daniel Cretton, who, as everyone knows, was a director of Shang-Chi 1, he essentially has left as director of Kang Dynasty. And this is on the heels of rumors that the MCU is moving away from Kang completely. We know previously Jeff Loveness, who was a part of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, as the writer on that. He was already removed from writing. So there are rumors that Kang, it came out that they had a contingency plan for Dr. Doom to replace him. Now we're getting kind of what we've talked. We had a really, really good conversation today in our Discord about the state of the MCU, which is ever changing. And, we essentially had a thought of like, again, there's no real big bad. There is a big bad, but like, it's kind of forced. Like you have to reach your hand in the pot and keep pulling stuff out to be like, I swear it's in here somewhere. And you finally get to it. And they're just like, great. It's kind of underwhelming. It's interesting that once the strike is over, now Deadpool stays in its place, which in my mind makes me think Deadpool really wasn't connected to much, if anything at all, that they can keep it in its place. And if need be, because they're still wrapping things up, cameos, pull someone in for a day or two or a week or something like that to film a post-credit or some mid-credit or some end of the movie scene like what we got in the Marvels that we'll get to. But I think the interesting thing is Captain America being delayed, because if the rumors are true and they are shifting away from Kang somehow, some way, what are the two things that we talked about earlier? I guess I'm asking a question, but I'm about to tell you. The one piece that's missing, not only is it a big bad, but the Avengers team. There are no Avengers right now. We are closer to a spoiler that we got, or we're going to tell you about in the Marvels, than we are to saying, hey, if Ultron came and Sokovia 2.0 happened, who's going to step up? Who knows? We don't know. And I am curious to see if Captain America 4 is going to lean more on the assembling of a new Avengers team. And the push allows them to do reshoots and include more characters and make that movie feel much bigger, even though it's a weird release date for something of that magnitude. They need to beef it up. It needs to be minimum Civil War level.
I'm interested to see where they go amidst all this. I've seen clashing rumors in terms of the Kang stuff. I've seen some people say that they're Kang overall, but then I've seen Jonathan Majors Kang, which from the articles that I read, very much hinting that a recast could be coming for him amidst all the allegations and everything. So the jury's still out on what's kind of going on. To me, if I look at it at face value, it really seems like Feige and Marvel crew were not happy with the direction that Kang Dynasty was going.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a Kang thing. I just think the way that they were going to pay that off, they might not want that now, and they want something different for it. And again, something we've talked about before, there's so many hands in that cookie jar right now. So they've had to now shift writers, directors, and I think this just might be another casualty of that as well. So again, we just have to kind of wait and see with some of these things. But one thing that I want to tie it into, because amidst all these delays, there's going to start to be competition.
Oh, I'm so
And
ready
the-
for this.
And the big one that will probably be a casualty on Marvel's side is Thunderbolts. Because again, we said Thunderbolts has been delayed to July 25th, 2025. But James Gunn, after the strike ended, confirmed that Superman Legacy is still being released as scheduled, which is July 11th, 2025. That's going to be big.
Nasty.
That is their premiere movie.
Nasty.
And it is going up against arguably Marvel's D tier team as of
Listen.
right now. Let's be honest.
I'm throwing this out here to you guys right now. If Marvel Studios and Disney are smart, which sometimes they are and sometimes it feels like they're not, but they definitely are, you make Captain America and Thunderbolts essentially a part 1, part 2 movie. You have a common denominator in the Red Hulk. You do not have a team. You have a movie that is an assembling of a team. You essentially, in my mind, and we've said this many times before and we've talked about it, to me, Captain America, Brave New World, and Thunderbolts are essentially Civil War II, part 1 and part 2. That is the only way that you're going to compete with DC's flagship movie that James Gunn, who, credit to him for everything he did in the MCU, dude, this guy, it's one of those things like a sports analogy where you're like, don't give this guy prep. James Gunn has all the prep in the world and it's his baby. Good luck when that movie comes out. Because it is going to be a stain on everybody's undies when it comes to Thunderbolts right now.
And the thing is, this is where I just think the Thunderbolts are just kind of, in a way, screwed with no matter what. Superman is the character that a lot of DC fans have been yearning for a while. I mean, ever since Man of Steel. That's 10 plus years of a fan base of a character that are really dedicated. Like, you talk to Superman fans, and Superman fans are dedicated Superman fans in a really cool way. I think Superman fans are awesome. That's their movie. And this is also the people that love DC. This is going to be their movie. Excuse me. And even for people who love DC and Marvel, like ourselves, this is going to be fun just to watch, to see the birth of the new universe that is going to be connected. And it's starting with the biggest DC character and is going to have other DC characters. This movie is an event, man. And the Thunderbolts can come out and be awesome. It can be absolutely fantastic. It could be a movie we talk about for ages within the MCU. It's just going to be coming out at the wrong time, I think. I wouldn't be surprised if this gets delayed again.
I hope
Go ahead.
it doesn't, just to get it over with.
Oh,
And also, it comes out 2 days before my birthday, so that's exciting. And I realized Deadpool 3 now comes out 1 day before my birthday. So I hope that shit stays. I almost had the Marvels this past year for my birthday release weekend, but they decided to move that.
they heard what you said about it and they were just like, nah, you don't deserve it, dog.
No,
Yeah,
the trailer. The trailer was out at the time. I mean, rightfully so. But, I took all that back.
It's
We'll get into it
documented
later.
forever.
Yes, and it's also documented that I rescinded my statement.
True. It'll be interesting, man. I just think Marvel, the smart thing on Marvel's end would be to move it. I think. At least maybe August, a month. Give it a month.
I'm gonna bring this back up. I'm gonna pull in my wrestling analogy. This is a Wednesday Night War type of thing. You have two competing promotions. Who's gonna back down? Who can claim the month? You know that's what everyone's gonna say.
But it's gonna
And
be
this
Superman.
is why we have been talking about this. This is why Marvel studios, if one of you are listening to us for probably like the 14th time in a row, like we have a lot of videos that you guys listen to, you need to give your fan base a through line for an entire cinematic story, because Superman is going to establish a world, a universe, maybe even a multiverse, since that's a hot topic, and maybe they get on the bandwagon real early in their inception of this. I think this is an opportunity to steal fans and make brand new fans of the original superhero that most people get based on in a lot of ways. There's a real opportunity, and that's why I always kind of get bothered when people are like, I'm not going to go see that movie. Why would you not go see Superman Legacy? Like,
I think they just need to see it.
DC haters at that point.
Yeah.
Either just straight up DC haters or Superman haters.
he's not my favorite, but like, bro carries some weight, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
It's a household name.
Yeah.
It's a household name. There's no reason to not watch this movie if you're a comic book fan, superhero fan, movie fan. You should go watch that movie. 100%.
I don't think I have a single Superman pop now that I think about it.
You need to fix that.
I do. It
Soon.
will be fixed before July 11, 2025.
Well, just wait until that aftermarket starts going up as it gets closer. It's probably
Yeah. Don't wait till then. Don't wait till then.
I mean, knowing Funko, they'll probably have like 30 other different Superman variations by then that have the same molds
Probably.
and
All
just 'cause
posing
they
the same way.
reuse the same. Yeah,
Let's hope not. Let's hope not.
especially the Justice or the Superman Legacy line that'll come out.
No, don't say that. They're gonna be unique. They're gonna be unique. Let's have
Hope so.
hope. Let's have hope. Let's also
Have
hope.
hope.
there you go.
Hope.
Let's also hope they don't scrap this film, because Warner Brothers is notorious for doing that. In our next bit of news piece, if you guys haven't heard, Warner Brothers scrapped another movie late last week, Coyote versus Acme, starring John Cena. Completely filmed. They just threw it away. This is the second movie that they've done that with, being the first one being Batgirl a couple years back. And Texas Congressman Joaquin Castro took to X today and suggested that the FTC look into Warner Brothers, because he compared it to basically insurance fraud when you burn down a building or a house to get the insurance money.
Interesting.
I don't know what you guys think about that. It's just very interesting because normally we don't delve into this type of stuff, but this does have implications for superhero movies, because again, this really started with Batgirl.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't like how the movie was going to turn out, and a movie that was originally supposed to be from Max, and they just were like, cool, well, in the trash.
I mean, is that not extremely Warner Brothers Universal to do, to green light and get all the way down the road, and you're like, cool, like this is it, I'm at the final stage, and they're just like, oh, by the way, you can go home now, and it's like, I'm sorry, what? Like, that is not surprising to me whatsoever. And that's something that I feared when, the DCU was announced and James Gunn came out and announced a lot of these projects. I'm just like, I don't have faith that a lot of these are actually going to get done. And even if they do get filmed and they're ready and they're in the final stages of visual and all that kind of stuff, everyone go home. I would be very curious to see if the new agreements or something along those lines with the writers and the actors and all that kind of stuff have some language in there now to negate these projects moving forward that are started. Or if not, I mean, like you said, everyone gets a payout and they can cover it up and they don't have to do it. Interesting. I would like to look into this more. It's a very intriguing topic.
Yeah, I'm curious.
not gonna lie.
Yeah,
I have no idea what that Coyote versus Acme movie was. I've never heard of it until it got canceled. So maybe that's a good thing.
it was the Looney Tunes character, and I think John Cena was supposed to be in it. So it was going to be like him going against the Coyote character, which is a very interesting topic. The cool thing is that apparently it's starting to be screened in other companies. So I think like Hulu or
Prime, was it Prime? Amazon?
it might have been Prime and Netflix. We're trying to take a look at it to pick it back up. So
it's possible.
Hopefully this movie does get released and doesn't suffer the same fate as Batgirl. However, I'm curious how far this goes because obviously we don't know movie contracts and stuff like that, and we don't know how that money gets pushed around. But this, even though Batgirl was a completed movie, there have been other DC movies that I'm sure had some sort of work, be it a script or some shots done. Yeah. And Warner Brothers was just like, no, you're not. Nope. So I'm curious to see what comes out of this because Warner Brothers is kind of predatory when it comes towards this.
Yeah, yeah. That sums up them like, okay. Super quick before we jump into the Marvels, 2 other pieces. We're getting back to Marvel news. I just want to throw this in here for all the comic fans. I don't know if this is going to be too spoiler-y or not, but in the Ultimate Spider-Man #2, the issue, which comes out January 2024, is going to introduce a new Ultimate Green Goblin. Marvel is touting Jonathan Hickman and March Cicchetto's upcoming Spider-Man series as the most surprising Spider-Man story of the 21st century. And the Green Goblin's identity, we don't know it. There's no Norman Osborn to fill the shoes there. The graphic, the cover, the art, everything looks super cool for Green Goblin, in my opinion. Spider-Brando Hero, have you guys checked it out? What are your thoughts?
Well, I
see what happens when I throw 2 names out there. There's
right.
I definitely want to say it.
I
that is on me in this awesome
fine.
X-Men shirt. That is on me.
Spider-Man, go ahead because it's in your name, Spider. I'll let you go first.
As one who doesn't really keep up with the mainline comics or many comics that are ongoing, it entices me. Every story we usually get, you always know Norman, Harry, or Ned is some form of goblin. So the fact that they already said Norman was dead in this universe gets me hype. I'm intrigued to go to pick it up and read it now. I still got this Spider-Verse omnibus to get through, but one day I'll finish that and pick up other comics.
One day.
What about you, Hero?
Dude, I'm excited. So here's the thing. I have been trying to get into like Amazing Spider-Man, which is the main comic book storyline for Peter Parker. And it's just hard, mainly because they do a lot of odd decisions and don't make him happy. It's been played a lot. And I know some people say that the runs are better read altogether, and I'm sure of that, but there's still a lot to complain about. And Ultimate Spider-Man, the Ultimate Universe Spider-Man, is exciting because not only is Jonathan Hickman a really good writer, a writer that I personally think is absolutely fantastic, and Cicchetto is an amazing artist. They're really giving Peter just character growth overall, not only in terms of like a new villain, but also the fact that one of the big things that they're touting is that he's married to MJ and they have a happy family. Mm-hmm. Like, you would think that's unheard of in Spider-Man books, but it's not. This is like insane that it's actually finally happening. So I'm excited. Issue 1 does come out, I think, in January. Mm-hmm. They're still in the setup of like the Ultimate Universe itself. They're gonna do a few other Ultimate series. I think Ultimate Black Panther and Ultimate X-Men alongside these different writers and artists. But I'm really excited for that one. Definitely one I'm going to be picking up.
All right, here we go. Last piece of news that we have just dropped today. Maybe you know what we're going to talk about, maybe not. Drop it in the comments. 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Pedro Pascal is reportedly going to be you, all the loyal listeners and watchers of the Point3 Podcast, Mr. Fantastic. It is reportedly all but said and done at this point. And this has been a wild, wild time of rumors for Reed Richards. Last we saw in the MCU, John Krasinski, Multiverse of Madness, 838 Earth, Spaghettified. Now we're going to get a 616 Sacred Timeline, Fantastic Four, Spider Brando. Hype level.
It's still. I still have a lot to process. I feel like Pedro was one of the least, probably one of the least expected people I would think that would get cast as a Reed Richards. But after looking at a couple pictures of him in
the big old long neck,
that with just him in the costume, IGN did a very good mock-up of like taking Krasinski's Multiverse Madness scene and putting Pedro's on there. I look pretty good, especially if they're going for like older Reed Richards. Matches pretty well look-wise, but I don't know. That's a big role for. I mean, he's played The Mandalorian. He's played big roles before. I forgot the character's name that he plays in The Last of Us.
Joel.
Joel, yes, but Joel and Mando himself, I think he could take it up with his star power, but I still don't know if it was like the perfect casting that Reed Richards should have had.
I'm interested, mainly because there's, again, like Spider Brando said, I don't think he came up on like anybody's short list of actors. Like, especially when the Adam Driver rumors were running rampant. A lot of people were coming out talking about who they would want. I don't think I saw Pedro Pascal a single time. So this came out of left field. However, I think he has the acting chops to pull it off. And I'm not too worried about the look because, one, we know that whenever the Fantastic Four come out, their suits are not gonna look the same spandexy suits that everybody wants them to be in, and I know that's gonna disappoint some, but we're in 2023 and we know that's not gonna look amazing in live action. Let's just be quite honest. So I'm sure they're gonna give a new spin on their suits, and I think they're gonna look pretty cool. So I'm just curious to see who else they put alongside them, because once we know who's going to be Sue, who's going to be Johnny, who's going to be Thing, that's when we can kind of talk about, all right, what's that dynamic going to be like? Right now, it's kind of hard to tell because Reed Richards is, honestly, Reed could have been anybody. And everybody would have been like, okay, cool. I think people are more concerned with like Sue and Johnny.
I'll say two pieces to this. I thought a lot about this since the news came out. Like, I've constantly been thinking about it, and I've been thinking about Reed Richards and the Fantastic Four specifically because I think, to your point, from a suit standpoint, like, it's 2023, we've kind of aged out of it, but the Fantastic Four, for as iconic as they are, and they're always touted as Marvel's first family, I don't think everyone's really begging for the Fantastic Four to be a part of the MCU. I think that they're begging for some of their characters that they're associated with, mainly Galactus and Silver Surfer. But I think from a live action standpoint, people have been kind of turned off, and it's been a little convoluted, especially from a Doom standpoint. Doom has really hurt the Fantastic Four. I think we know that Doom could be amazing. I think we know the Fantastic Four could be an amazing addition to the MCU. However, for me specifically, a Pedro Pascal casting is telling me that they're putting focus on relationship. He works very well with female characters. I think that's very evident in The Mandalorian and The Last of Us. I think he can handle being a leader. And I think he has, like you had said, the acting chops to essentially, in a short period of time, deliver the type of emotional connection that's needed to make the Fantastic Four feel relevant. And why I say that is you go back to a Loki season 2, what solidified Tom Hiddleston as one of the greatest actors to ever don a character in the MCU. That was season 1 and 2. Obviously, of course, across 14 years, he's done that. But what really put him over the edge was his ability to talk to us through the screen, to do that. And I think of Pedro Pascal, if they do an Emily Blunt, great. And that leaves Thing in Human Torch to really be fun and free and feel different. But when you have that relationship dynamic between Sue and Reed, that is going to be the core of that movie, in my opinion.
I raise you this though.
Oh, a gambling man.
If they were to go Emily Blunt, why not just get Krasinski?
I didn't like John Krasinski. I'll say that. You can cancel me all you want.
But you're talking
I didn't
about
love it. I didn't
real
love it.
chemistry. They're literally married in real life.
They are, but John Krasinski, like anyone can sit there and click a button and be like, the Earth is
Oh,
a
yeah.
really, really big place. And I'm like, thank you very much. Now go back into your portal. I didn't love John Krasinski. I was never asking for John Krasinski. I feel very passionate about the John Krasinski piece. I think he looked goony in his little suit. I did not love anything about his appearance in that movie. I thought it was cool that we got a Fantastic Four character, but I will stand behind this. And if you want to dig through the archives and be like, but you said this, I never wanted John Krasinski to be back as Reed Richards. I didn't love it. I think he's somewhat boring. I don't like him as Jack Ryan. Like The Office is cool. Not a huge Krasinski fan. The real life dynamic. Maybe I don't love their real life relationship enough to think it should be on screen. I don't know.
It was funny because I feel like Multiverse of Madness was a test of that for fans and for him as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because what Spider Brando is saying is a good point. If you have Emily Blunt, why not? But
for sure,
the thing is, to Lou's point, not fans, even the people that were happy that it was him, I haven't seen them been clamoring for Krasinski to come back. Even the people that liked him being in the movie, I have not seen people being like, John Krasinski. No, that they shut up really quick and they're like, okay,
settled
cool.
down after that movie
Yeah.
came out.
So, and I think even he came out, and when they were like, hey, how was it? How was the experience? And he was like, yeah, it's pretty cool, I guess. Like, he wasn't too excited about it either. So
no.
I don't think he wants to do it. And I think that's what Marvel sees. They maybe wanted to offer it to him and maybe wanted to test the waters with Multiverse of Madness and see how the fans would react to it and how he would react to it. It's a low commitment type thing, and he didn't care for it as much. The fans didn't care for it as much, and they're going separate ways.
I would not be surprised if we look back after a Fantastic Four movie comes out with a Pedro Pascal and we look at it and we say, I don't know if I necessarily liked him. Very similar to like a Homelander and what Anthony Starr did. I'm not saying he's going to be a villain by any means, but the way that he can elicit a response from the audience to be like, man, you're not this great guy. Reed Richards is not a great guy. Like, he's not a great guy. And the way that he's been positioned in live action in the last 2 attempts, I'm really smart. I'm really good. I'm the leader. Like, he felt a little soft, a little weak, but I want the Reed Richards who's going to be like, listen, if you're going to walk on that ramp to go to the temporal loom, I'm going to shut the door. I'm just going to, because if I don't, everyone else is going to die. And I'm so sorry that this has to happen, but I'm going to make the tough call. And this is it. And here we see the door shut and everyone's crying and screaming. This guy has 1 tear, maybe some teary eyes, but that's it. Like, this is the decision that has to be made. Like, that's the kind of Reed that I want in this. And they need to have someone who can make him relevant very quickly, because it's late in the game in terms of when this movie comes out and when we're supposedly going to get Avengers 1 and 2, the new ones. I don't know, man. I think it's a good call. I think it's a good call. I think he has all of the skills and abilities to elevate everyone around him, be that point guard, and really make people feel like we didn't get a reboot, but we got a really cool interpretation of the Fantastic Four and Reed Richards specifically.
Agreed.
Very well said.
Thanks.
After hearing your guys' points on it, it's still settling in my mind. It's something I got to sleep on, but I think I'm more inclined to to be on its good side. Or be on the casting's good side, I should say.
Last thing before we move on to our deep dive. There are two movies that are of the utmost importance for the MCU moving forward. Deadpool and the Fantastic Four. Rome's
coming in.
100%.
Pedro.
What's
Do no
up,
wrong.
Rome's?
Yeah, we gotta convince Spider-Man of that though. So
I just said I got sleep on it.
I'm totally cool. If I'm Marvel, there are two challenges that we talked about taking on. One being, who are we going to put up head to head to go against the juggernaut that is Superman Legacy, and really leaning into the Fantastic Four departing from what everyone expects and giving us a new MCU spin and flavor that just really blows people away. It's not going to be cut and paste. It's not going to be a 1-to-1. This makes me more excited than I think I've been for the prospect of Fantastic Four in a really long time. Is it time?
I think it's time.
But before we
I'm
get into
afraid
our
it's
deep
not.
dive, everyone, if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, definitely do so. We are doing live stream Wednesdays every single Wednesday. And then we're dropping some recaps and reviews. We have Invincible. We are going to have some trailer reviews in a little more depth. So we want to hear from you. So join the conversation. Join us on Discord. Join us here in the comment section. Maybe we'd love to have you as a guest on our show, which would be super cool. So with that being said, though, the Marvels.
Oh boy. Oh boy. I've been waiting all weekend, baby.
Yeah, we're gonna run over time. Listen, for all you numbers fans out there, here are some quick facts. As of Sunday night for opening weekend, Rotten Tomatoes critics score 62% for the Marvels. Rotten Tomatoes audience 84%. IMDb 6.1 user score. 50 Metascore, which is not bad. And then Letterboxd 3 out of 5 stars. So obviously some people love this movie, some people hated it. A lot of people are somewhere in between, but with both sides bringing out valid arguments as to why they feel the way that they feel, we're going to explore some major talking points from the movie. So to kick us off, we each had 2 words to describe the movie. Spider-Brando, marvelously packed. Hero Scroll, higher and further. Myself, Lou, unapologetically fun. Who was the biggest surprise character for you guys? Spider-Brando, we'll start with you.
We go with Kamala.
Ooh.
I knew she was gonna be. For me, who's never watched Ms. Marvel, I never had like the background of her character going into it. Besides like 2 episodes, I watched like the first 2 episodes. I liked her, but I never got the full like 6 or 7, however many episodes there were, experience with Iman Vellani as Kamala. So she was the highlight of the film for me. Perfect. Talk about a perfect casting. She was perfect casting. I loved her. I loved the movie. And yeah, she was my biggest surprise.
Young hero.
Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel. I knew Iman Vellani was going to be the MVP, and I knew Photon was going to be likable, which she was. I was always wondering where they were going to put Carol, if they were finally going to give her personality, if they were going to make us like her, and they did. And that was a surprise to me not because I didn't think they couldn't do it, just because of how much they made me like the character now. Now I can say I'm a Captain Marvel fan, and I can mean that like wholeheartedly and not be not have to fight to reason that. I think this movie gave us reason.
I think for me, I was surprised by what Carol did in the movie, mainly her Princess Disney moment that she had, which I personally liked. But I was surprised more by Monica Rambeau in this. To be honest with you, I wasn't expecting them to go through and have her and develop her in a way to where when she made her final move in the movie, it felt like that was a natural act that she did. And that didn't feel like it was out of left field for me personally. I liked how she was kind of learning as she fights. Like that was that Broly thing that was happening. Like that was that character. And here it's just like she's getting better as the movie goes on, and we're seeing it in real time. Her learn her power set, showcase her skills and her brain, and just be able to really come out of this movie as like, if I were to say like who are the top 5 like strongest characters in the MCU, I'm like, I think I'm gonna put Monica Rambeau, like give her some more training time. She's going toe to toe with anybody. Like, can you imagine this Monica Rambeau going up against a Thanos who has the power just oozing from the Infinity Gauntlet? She's like, give me that. Just eats it all up.
Yeah.
Like, I'm expecting something like, I think the future is very, very bright for her.
According to Rome, she ate the suit up as well. So, but yeah, no, she's one of those characters that as time goes on, she's just going to keep getting better and better and better. Next time you see her, she's going to command the screen, be it if she gets her own show, a movie, I don't know. But I wanted to see more of her at the end of it, and that's a good thing. Like, they did a really good job of expanding and exploring her power sets with you throughout the movie.
Yeah. I think we hit all 3 characters, which is pretty cool. But let's talk about the likes and dislikes, because there were some additional things that fans were split on during the movie. First thing being the pacing, speed of the movie. I'll flip it back to you, Hero Scroll. How did you feel? It was a shorter runtime. And you have a lot of comments that was quick, it was fun, it was in, it was out. I really enjoyed myself, and it was called for. And then you have the other side of the coin where it's just like, this was a lot of moments just put together in an hour and some odd minutes, and then I left.
Yeah, it's funny to me that a lot of people are using that term. I want to know what influencer or reviewer put that term first, because clearly they're not. I can tell you for a fact people are not thinking about that on their own, because if you really think about it, all movies are just a collection of moments. So throw that immediately out the window. I think the thing is, if this movie was an extra 30 minutes, I don't know what you add. What do you add to this? You know what I mean? Like, nothing felt missing out of it personally. So the pacing was it was good to where if this happened, right, in real life, this is probably what's going to happen. They're going to dig intel on her. They're going to go find her. They're going to keep going, and they're going to just go boom, boom, boom. Next thing. So I thought it was great. They maybe 1 or 2 scenes could have done without, but that's nitpicky, if I'm being honest, in terms of the pacing.
I'll second that. Spider Brando, what you got?
I thought it was good as well. And the pacing of it is kind of where my 2 words of marvelously packed stem from. It was packed with a lot of stuff in here, especially having to kind of show the on-screen background of Monica and Kamala for those who didn't watch the Disney Plus shows. And I thought they did a great job. Pretty quickly go over them, how they got their powers, and like we got to see the rest of who they were on the screen.
Yeah.
So to me, it was a great balance between the 3, and then you could probably even say Fury's like 4 like main characters of the movie. Anything, if they were to have added another like 30 minutes, the Hero said, I could see so many scenes just getting dragged out way too long. They're just quick to the point. The movie did what it had to do. And like I said, I thought the pacing was maybe could have used an extra 5-10 minutes here and there.
Bingo.
But
That's where I'm at.
it's not like There was one point where I remember I was sitting through the movie. I think I was like an hour in. I'm like, holy shit. I feel like there's like, I feel like it's only been 30 minutes. It flew by for me. So that shows that it was pretty fast paced,
Yeah,
which is good.
we talked about this off screen too. This movie, although it was quick and it was very fast paced, and they did move from point A to point B fairly quickly. This movie. I watched it twice, and if you haven't heard me say this, I've been saying it. And I don't know why. I feel like it's like some sort of like trophy that I can just dangle in front of people. I'm like, yeah, you saw it once, I saw it twice. Like, I like it more than you. But this movie, the attention to detail in this is there. And it's something that's typically missing for movies that are faster paced. There's a lot of gaps, and they get to a point and you're just like, why are you here? If you pay attention or you caught on, there's always a reason for why they get to where it is that they need to be, and how that big action sequence or a large moment happens. On the second time through, knowing that that's coming, the first half of the movie feels so much better. And I was like, man, that wasn't on the movie. It was on me, because I really just was looking for something that wasn't there. And it kind of was the villain. I think I was looking too much for Darben's motivations in the front end, and not really enjoying the movie for what it was and what they gave us. And that being said, I thought what they were trying to tell from a story standpoint was great. And if you take the pacing and the power entanglement and the reasons of why they were where they were, I thought it was a really good story to tell, because you had Monica, who had a relationship with Captain Marvel, and Iman Vellani, who didn't have a relationship with Captain Marvel, but in a way she really did, and she was connected to her. And the supporting characters that were in this movie just helped feed that and push them further down to the ultimate ending of this movie. What did you guys take away from the story that they were telling? Because I think it's good to highlight what was it that we saw that the director Nia DaCosta was doing. What did you guys feel?
There's the saying never meet your heroes is very popular when people are like, oh, don't meet them because they might suck. But in this case, that feels like what this is, but it's more in the sense of meet your heroes, because sometimes they could just be really good people, and there's good reason for you to be inspired by them. And in this case, it is the case between Iman Vellani's Kamala Khan and Carol Danvers, where at first she's kind of cold to her, almost sometimes even like a little rude per se. But she never stops believing in her. Even when she tells her in the scene where in the first Skrull colony that gets destroyed, the little girl that is with their emperor, she's like, oh, don't worry, it'll be okay. Captain Marvel's going to fix this.
Mm-hmm.
And Carol just kind of like looks like, dang, this girl really, really believes in me. Like, she's not just a super fan. She's like actually thinks that I am a hero. And even Monica, even though she is jaded because she left, she still loves her, and she knows what she's capable of, and she's her hero. So I think it's just that relationships are stronger in so many ways. Because I saw a lot of people say, well, why would Monica just forgive her like that? I'm like, well, if you love someone and you really care about them, and you haven't seen them in a long time, you're not going to stay mad at them. And if you do, then you got issues.
That is so much easier to do when there's a lot of distance in between you. But once you get in there, it's kind of the thing of like you let your guard down a little bit more. You let people in, not because you don't want to, but you can tell Monica always wanted to. Like, she did. And it was just kind of that,
she's just always waiting for her to come back.
Right.
A scene. Oh, I just want to touch on that. There's the scene where Captain Marvel was telling him pretty much why she was in space, because the Skrulls needed her, and then Monica goes, "Oh, just I needed you, my aunt," or something like that. That hit. Sorry, I got sad. But that one hit me in the feels.
But even think about that, right? We've talked about choice. We've talked about heroes, and it goes forwards and backwards. Meet your heroes, meet your fans, type of thing, right? But think about how selfish Monica was in that moment of like, no, I didn't care about you saving the universe. Like, you need to come back and save me because I was going through stuff. And then you get to the end and she makes the most selfless move that you could possibly make in this whole thing.
I would say you could. I interpreted that not only just like her being selfish or selfish, her being selfish of not just like her mom needing her, but the whole Earth could have used her as well, since she wasn't there for like the first arrival of Thanos.
Yeah.
So that's what I thought. That I interpreted it more towards like the whole Earth needing her, and she could have saved like, I don't know, 5 billion lives or however many people got snapped.
Right. I mean, think about that.
All that.
That was a huge piece. Huge piece. Like, if you would have saved Thanos, I wouldn't have gotten snapped, and I could have been with my mom when she passed. Like, that's on you.
But then there's still all those like trillions of lives in the universe that she's been saving. So it's morality duality.
There it is. Is that like, do we have a hashtag for that?
We need one. We need one. Yeah. I was gonna say though, but it's funny because that extends through all parts of this movie. Even a scene that a lot of people, even Rome's called it out, the dancing scene, that a lot of people were like, "Oh, that felt weird. That felt stupid. It felt silly." And yes, it did feel silly, but there's a very purposeful intention behind that. Of that, Carol, if you think about it in the sense that Carol has always been portrayed as someone who's very cold, very how do I call it, like calculated in a way, I guess. So to see her do something as embarrassing as singing and dancing like that for the sake of those people, it just goes to show you how much she cares about saving lives. And it just adds to her character. It adds another nice little layer of, yeah, okay, she was out there doing these things that she would normally never do on her own for the sake of people. And after that, it's kind of hard to look at her and be like, yeah, no, she's horrible. She sucks.
Dude, especially double down on that, right? When we're talking about the Kree. Dar-Ben calling her the Annihilator. She had this whole vendetta against the Supreme Intelligence. Again, from a selfish standpoint, it's on display here once again, where she's like, you ruined my life. You took everything from me. I didn't ask for this. I'm going to destroy him. She does, and look at what the repercussions are. Maybe they're a little exaggerated. I don't know how that actually destroys a son. Maybe I missed that part. But at the same time, there was that moment at the end where Monica comes up with the idea, again, big brain moment, and she's just like, listen, I'm understanding our powers. Like, you have the ability to give energy, right? You can restart their son. And she says, I've never done that before. And there was, for Captain Marvel to have a moment where she's like, I can't do that because I've never done it, and I'm kind of hesitant to do something like that. And Monica's like, what do you think I've been doing this whole time? Like, I know my powers too. I have to try stuff. And then she did it again. It's just an awesome dynamic where all of them helped really take that higher, further, faster piece and just apply that throughout the entire movie. So at the end, everyone had a moment like that where they had to step out of their comfort zone and make a big call and do something massive in uncharted territory for so many different reasons. One of my favorite parts of this movie.
To that point, can we talk for a second about how well they worked as a team, though? Like, not just chemistry wise, because I think chemistry was off the charts. It was palpable how well they worked together from the start. But I mean, beyond that, in terms of their fighting style, man, it was a joy to see that. And in reality, the only like mess up, I guess you could say, was like Kamala, but it's more based on inexperience than her like fumbling for the sake of story. It was more, but she still picked herself back up. Like, I think about it in one scene where they're fighting Dar-Ben on the ship in Elandra, the dancing planet.
Yeah.
Aladna, yeah.
Aladna.
I think, yeah.
It was
so her and Carol switch. And when she switches, she falls like she wasn't prepared for it, but then she gets back up and keeps fighting. Like, it's so neat to see something like that where even though she's messing up and making mistakes, she's holding her own with these two absolute powerhouses of superheroes.
Yeah.
Freaking fantastic teamwork, man.
Yeah, dude. The visuals and the effects I personally thought were really good, especially with their switching. I know we compared it to kind of like time slipping and all that kind of stuff beforehand in the preview, and it didn't. I was hoping that it wouldn't feel like that since both of the projects came out, but it definitely felt like its own. Like it felt like more of like an instant transmission than anything, you know. Did you put that? I want to make sure I didn't steal that from you. But yeah, but to that point, that fight, like, it was a kind of a cool training montage that they did when they were like throwing stuff up and like doing the double dutch and all that. And it's just like you can compare that to when they get into real battle. Are they going to be able to switch scenarios? And just think about this for a second. If we're all in a circle and the three of us right now, right? If we flip, if we're typing right now, they could switch and keep typing. You know what I mean? Like that whole thing would keep going down. Now think about it from a fighting aspect. You have to know what your opponent's doing. You have to keep not only a focus on the front of you, but see where they are, understand your powers, understand their powers. Like there's a lot that went into it. So for it to be successful at the end with probably one of the better fight scenes, I think, when they just smoked Darben at the end.
I was literally about to bring that up. Darben had no chance against them. She had no chance. And you look at that fight, and to your point, the way that like Photon and Captain Marvel high-low her like a wrestling move freaking was awesome. Like, because again, Kamala's coming from the top, Carol's coming from the bottom. Kamala then goes all the way over there. Carol's now on top, Photon's now on the bottom. They just smack her up. I'm like, oh my God, this is awesome. This was really cool to see.
How many movies do we think in the past, superhero movies, does that happen where like you feel like it's the classic superhero trope where like you go through all this training and at the end like someone stumbles over their foot and the whole switcheroo like messes up and the villain stands tall and it's just like, you guys aren't good enough to do this. This movie, they're like, nah, like the only thing that's going to stop us is our humanity.
You know, now that you brought that final scene up, this might be a little digression. Something I just thought of. There was, during that scene, you saw Captain Marvel or Kamala use her powers against Darben's bangles, and it like absorbed the powers. I mean, it happened earlier in the movie too. But it just dawned on me. Why didn't they try to put Captain Marvel powers into Kamala's bangle to try to make it more powerful and like power that up? Her powers might make her powers that like Kamala could use out of her bangle more effective.
I don't think at that
switch.
I don't think at that point they wanted to risk an unknown like that because there wasn't enough on the table. At the end of the movie, when they did do that, like, listen, we don't have a choice. If we don't, then who knows what's going to happen with this jump point to wherever that Photon said. I think it was like kind of like a last resort. Like, it's our superhero moment. It's now or never.
But then if they didn't, they would have been in the same area if she was just shooting the laser like right at Kamala to power up her gauntlet. It's not like they would have been switching like out of place with one another, like from across planets.
I'd say it's probably more so the fact of
looking into that too much, but it just randomly came across my mind.
I did think about that too, and I thought that's kind of where they were going to lead up to it in the finale, and they just never did that. But I think it's more so the fact of they don't fully know what that does yet. They know it absorbs the power, but they don't know if it takes a toll on them,
that's true,
how to redirect it out. And I don't think they want to risk that with Kamala. And they're not just going to be like, hey, take the power of the sun in your bangle and then redirect it.
I don't in the palm of my bangles.
Yeah. I don't think they wanted to risk that with her because she's their friend, you know.
I think it's a risk thing, even because you could say to that point, like, Photon could have absorbed the power, but by that point, is it too much of a distraction? What does it look like? Is there an overload? I think they did a subtle job of at least saying the artifacts in this movie, the universal weapon or whatever the hammer was called, plus the bangles. Like, this is an ancient artifact, something we don't know much about. Like, shout out to Vision talking about the multiverse and all that kind of stuff. I just think it was err on the side of caution for that standpoint. I think they know that they could have, which is why they ultimately did in the end. But at that point, just not enough on the table for them to build it up and put the boom down, I guess. I don't know. But speaking of the Bengals, and we have to talk about it, something that we've been on record saying has plagued the MCU for a lot of projects. Some people are putting Darben into this bucket of another classic failed MCU villain. Spider Brando, how did you feel about Darben in this? Was she a good villain? Was she an okay villain? Was she bad and kind of... What'd you think?
Oh, I remember on Saturday post watch, I agreed with Rome's comment about being so painfully average. But then after talking to you and recapping some of the events that happened and picking up some things and thoughts, made a lot of sense for her to. I just don't think they really they showed like why she was, and they emphasized at the end once Captain Marvel realized that she was taking resources from places that she liked. But up until that point, to me, it was just like a little confusing. Like, man, this person just really has a hatred for for Captain Marvel. And I'm like, sure, she screwed their planet up, but I don't know. It just didn't really come across as too menacing or too like intimidating at first. But I guess it's not like I should have went into it expecting something so menacing and intimidating. Because it's not like it's not like she was supposed to be like a phase 4 bad and something like that. I don't know. I think I compared her, went into it expecting like high evolutionary type character too much. I would definitely like to rewatch it to pick up on some of the notes that you talked about in the first half of the movie. Seeing it the second time made you appreciate her a lot more. I'm definitely more interested in watching it again and seeing if that changes anything on my end.
I'm going to throw this out here real quick because I think it's worth noting that, and another spoiler alert again, Secret Invasion was not essential viewing for this movie whatsoever. That was kind of the notion going into this of like, if I had to choose one, Miss Marvel or Secret Invasion, which one should I watch? Most people are like, Secret Invasion should probably have more to do with it. And I was like, no, don't think so. Let's probably focus on one of the three main characters first. To me, in hindsight, if they would have taken Gravik out of Secret Invasion and put him in this movie to be the main villain, and taken a Darben and maybe taken that Skrull Kree conversation with Nick Fury and done something a little more from that end and peppered that in through Secret Invasion, I think that it would have been really, really cool if we could have got the three Marvels versus a Super Skrull in this. That would have been massive, in my opinion. Massive.
That would have been drum roll, please.
All day. No doubt in my mind.
Day. That would have been such a better use of Gravik. Makes so much more sense.
Well, that's Gravik though.
Oh, wait. I don't know why I said Gravik.
No. What you said is right. Yeah. I'm just saying that's more of a what if scenario. It is Gravik, and
that's what I meant.
We got to think about Darben and what we got. And what I will say is that I think she was okay. What people need to remember sometimes is that a villain not every villain is going to be Hela. Not every villain is going to be Killmonger. Not every villain is going to be Thanos, High Evolutionary. And they really shouldn't be, right? Sometimes a villain just needs to be someone who is out to get you. And that's it, you know? They just want revenge. They're going to kill a planet if they need to get to you. And that's what Dar-Benn was. And I think the fact that they at least gave her a personal connection to Captain Marvel was really good. Like, you explained her motivations very well. Because let's be honest, how many people heard Dar-Benn and went, "Oh my God, Dar-Benn, let's go"?
I had to look up Dar-Benn and do a little research, and I'm like, this kind of is like classic MCU obscure villain.
Yeah,
they're gonna do something fun with. Yeah,
and that's okay. And that's what they did. She was stealing atmospheres, which I don't think we've seen in the MCU, for the sake of her home planet, which, if you think about it, is not really a bad motivation. She wanted to help her people while also getting back at Captain Marvel. So
that's the miss, though. That is kind of the miss in this, because the way that she was filmed and her movements and motions that were choreographed and the way that they framed her, everything felt very villainous for the sake of being like, hey, this is the antagonist of the movie. And I think the hard part is if you would have taken it and done it any other way, that you would have been and looked at the Marvels and been like, are you guys the bad guys now? Like, they needed to keep it very cut and dry. Villain, heroes. We do not need to blur the lines, especially for a Captain Marvel, even though they kind of touched on that a little bit. And they're like, the Annihilator is the one. You're just like, no, we don't like the Kree, and we don't like the Kree from the first one. You still, like, you did some bad things to her. And they really, every time you got one, they gave you one, and they canceled out. But I think from that villain standpoint, if she would have shown a little bit more emotion throughout, and they were just giving her another minute or two every time she either did it or didn't, because it kind of just felt like it was like, hammer to bangle, I'm taking something, bam, I'm gone. And I'm like, you have a massive ship. I don't know how you're moving that fast, because that thing's big. It's just like, she's kind of the next spot. Yeah. I agree with you, though. I don't think she needed to be much more.
To that point, though, what I will say that I was also going to add, though, is that she did fall apart for me at the very end, though, because she made, let's be quite honest, a stupid decision in terms of rejecting the help that they just straight up said they'd give her, but then also going out there and trying to pull the universe for herself and then died. It felt really stupid of her to do that. Like, that was just dumb.
I will second that. I did feel in the moment when I saw that, I was like, what are you doing? I was like, why'd you do that? Like that. I will say this wholeheartedly. When they came up with the idea of like, we'll restart your son, blah, 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 I was like, this is it. It's done. Like, that's what you want. Like, let bygones be bygones, and cool. And then I was like, well, what's the end thing going to be? But she's like, psych, I'm going to kill the MCU's newest and greatest character. And I'm like, no, don't crush her head. And then, yeah, that, like, you are not that special. That I like, why did you think you could handle that much power when your little sidekick was warning you the whole time, like, don't do it? And she's just like, you don't know anything, scientist. I know stuff.
I'm gonna do it. Yeah, that was really stupid. That's where it fell apart.
Well, here's the big question. Spider-Man, this is for you first. Did this movie go far enough? Was it too simple? Did they deliver on the overall action and just the feel of being super in this movie?
I'm going to say yes on delivering the action. Thought all the fight scenes were pretty intense. They did a lot of saving civilians and buildings breaking down, tight moments. The movie was simple, but at the same time, no, it was simple because of plot continuity. Is that the right? No, I feel like I said that word wrong. I don't know why. Continuity. Yeah, no.
It's
Yeah.
no selfish. Selfish.
Selfish.
Dude, I love that one.
I'm gonna say selfish at all times now.
We're coining that.
Damn it.
But there's a lot of conveniences that happened. Like, I get it was a quick movie, so they're probably just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But especially something in the beginning of the movie when Captain Marvel and Photon are going towards that like hex thing that like the reason why they're entangled. Convenience.
Sure.
After that, switching around with like every time when Fury and Monica were talking at one point when they didn't know what was going on, a lot of the dialogue just seemed like it was just like they're just explaining just how convenient it was, and like they knew how convenient stuff was.
Oh, that's why this movie is unapologetic, in my opinion. They're just like, we know what we're doing. Like, it's no secret. Yeah. We're not trying to hide anything. It's here.
Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, I feel like if 3 people were to have been switching across the universes, it would take a bit longer to. No, I guess that just shows how smart Monica is, I guess, for figuring it out.
Listen, so know Fury's old butt did not show up at that house that fast when it was like, ding dong, who is it? And it was, just Monica and Nick Fury. I'm like, dude, your elevator does not take that long.
Yeah, that's true.
Not that quick.
We saw how long it took the family to get up later in the movie.
It's because he's a Skrull.
But
I'll bring that back.
I know.
Don't do that again.
There was some points. There was something in that movie that I'm like, how did he get from there to there? And then I thought of like one of them was
and then he gets out of that like cargo thing, and this guy takes like 50 years to just take like 10 stops. I'm like, bro, it's not happening for you anymore, Nikki B. Not happening. But hero scroll, post-credit scenes. What happened?
Man, so the first one, it's kind of, I wouldn't say a mid-credit scene. It's more a part of the movie. It's basically the ending. Mm-hmm. Kamala Khan is with Kate Bishop, and she tells her, I want to start a team. So hinting, if not hinting, just straight up telling you, basically, Young Avengers. They don't name drop it, but they really position her as the leader of it, which I think is a very good call.
Great call.
And her second being Kate, I think also a very good call. So kudos to that for them, and finally delivering on what I think people have been talking about for 3 years now around. So good stuff. And then the next one. This is the one that is going to get a lot of people talking because X-Men, baby. We got X-Men. We got Binary.
Oh, shoot. Oh,
there you go. Look at that. That's why mine is you can see him right
there. He is.
You got Binary. You got Beast. You got the X Mansion, and you got a Charles name drop. You saw Beast, Binary, who is played by, I don't know the actress's name, but it is Monica's mother, and she played Captain Marvel in Multiverse of Madness. Binary finds Monica. Monica freaks out because she's like, Mom, I've missed you. And she's like, I don't know who you are. I'm not your mother. Mm-mm. And then Beast is like, I don't know, you're from a parallel universe, so
it shouldn't be possible.
Mm-hmm. But here you are. He's like, I'm gonna go talk to Charles, and then you get a full-on Binary costume reveal, which I think she looked also really good. And
that was amazing.
I have to say, kudos to them for finding a way to deliver a nice little twist on Binary and still keeping it true to comics. I hats off to them. But yeah, X-Men. Are you guys excited? Did this hit for you?
It hit.
I got something. They hit us. They said this.
There you go.
Dude, we said it. We said it in our preview that a moment like this could happen. You would think that it's bigger than it was. Should be bigger. I think if you plop this maybe in another movie, it'll be talked about and it'll be relevant when it needs to be relevant. Loki's getting its time. I have to say, I don't know why, but I'm stuck on Beast. Like, I'm thinking Beast is like that Thanos who turns around in the chair and you're like, you look slightly unfinished. And he's just like, yeah, I am. So when the movie comes around, like, I'm going to look great. And I just like, so I forgive that. But what a cool way. And I love what Monica said at the end when she's just like, mom, oh my God, I've missed you. And then she's like, I don't know you. And she's like, oh, damn. Here we go again. Like,
Yeah.
she cracked me up the whole movie with just those
She was
little
great.
subtle lines.
Yeah.
This is a hit for me though. The end of the movie and the mid-credit scene were two massive hits. Your stars were on display and they further the MCU in fantastic ways that open up a whole new part of the MCU and expand it in a very interesting way. Because I don't think those X-Men are 838. So they're somewhere else.
I was gonna say the parallel universe thing is what got me intrigued, where it's kind of hard to say, especially with like Loki and Multiverse of Madness and all the multiversal stuff we've seen so far. But parallel universe felt specific, especially since it's coming from Hank.
Be 838 though.
No, because Charles is dead.
Yeah. And
so
Monica's, or not Monica, I guess, but what we know as Monica was Captain Marvel, but she was binary. So that's intriguing.
Yeah, I'm curious. The parallel universe thing felt very intentional. Again, it coming from Beast made it feel more intentional, especially him being the smart one. Because if it came from like Cyclops, Wolverine, Jean, it'd probably be like, is it though? Okay. But Beast would probably figure that out really quick and be like, okay, something's off and it's weird. And you're not too far from us, which is weirder.
And the interesting thing is Monica can obviously, she understood that it was a multiversal thing that happened with that cracking purple jump port that was, bleeding into their reality. Shout out to the tie-in that we were talking about with Loki and He Who Remains. But it's interesting that Binary has both of the quantum bands, and Beast is like, stuff like this is impossible. And I'm like, man, you have people who are on this scale, but for whatever reason, you can't do what the sacred timeline 616 has really stumbled upon every time when it comes to the multiverse. Because it's always been random. I don't know if anyone's intentionally multiverse jumped. Right? That I know of. Everything's been like
besides dreamwalking.
I was gonna say
counts.
Dreamwalking, and then if you count America Chavez's powers, those are True intentional. But besides that, yeah, everybody's just kind of like happens to just kind of fall into it.
I want to take a quick second though to, I know the Young Avengers piece has kind of been like third on the totem pole of exciting things that have happened in the last week, but the Young Avengers crew could be really good and really relevant very quickly in the MCU, because you have Miss Marvel, who's legit. You obviously have Kate Bishop, who's legit, and 23, which means, do we get a Spider-Man who's a Young Avenger? Potentially. Scar exists. You have Ironheart. You have Cassie Lang. You have America Chavez. What can't they do with all of them together?
It's a pretty stacked team.
Right? And let's not even talk about my boy Young T'Challa getting his thing going.
I was going to say, imagine if they age him up, oof. Or they just bring in like a teenage T'Challa to lead a
nasty.
What were you going to say? Disgusting team.
I wasn't going to say anything.
they need to make that movie and do it soon. Okay, my last question for you guys: if they do a Young Avengers team, how would you prefer to see them first? Do you want a slow recruitment like phase 1? Or do you want them to show up in a movie? Is it a Disney Plus show? Is it a special? How do you see that kind of progressing organically?
I think what they just did with Kamala going to find Kate was perfect. If they like feed the recruitment through like other projects that come out and then ultimately connect it to like something that happens where they finally all have to come together, like pretty much exactly what Avengers did, I think that'll be perfect. It might be a little too forced if they all get their like individual shows and then at the end it's just someone like Kamala coming around to recruit them. It feels more natural to like do it within another project. That makes sense.
Bring a special presentation. Give it the not Moon Knight, Werewolf by Night treatment. Give it 45 minutes, maybe an hour, and tell that story really quick in a Disney Plus special. I think that's the best way. You maybe start where they're all recruited and they go on their first mission. They fail miserably. They come back, and then at the end you get them working together really well. I don't think they all need their shows and their introductions. I think some can just be introduced in a Young Avengers. I think that's the way to go.
I think it'd be. Go ahead.
I was gonna say if they get like 3 of them, like we know we have 2 between Kamala and Kate, and then once they get Cassie, we've seen all 3 of their origins, and they could just do like a Young Avengers movie to finding the other ones. And I think that would be, and then like leading to something.
Yeah.
I don't know. They have to find those people early, and then we get climax resolution. I think that would be a cool way to do it too.
I like how each of these characters, again, they've been positioned in a way where there's been an existing hero who has essentially been kind of a pseudo mentor for each of them. But I think it'd be cool for them to try to do it on their own, and we can kind of get this ragtag.
Yeah.
New York, they're fighting crime and they're trying to do it, but like they just can't. Right? They just really can't, and they come across a villain.
Young Spider-Man in there. Oh my god!
But listen, we're
so excited with street level stuff.
Where Spider-Man comes in, and why I say New York, is Spider-Man should be the character, we've talked about this before, who bounces between all the teams. Spider-Man could be on the Midnight Sun. Spider-Man could be an Avenger. Spider-Man could be a Young Avenger. Spider-Man could be with the X-Men or Fantastic Four, bombastic Bagman. Like, he could be any team.
That white and black.
But I think it'd be really cool if they do a special or something, or have them kind of cameo or whatever in some project, and they're like, we can't do it, and Spider-Man shows up and he's like, listen, I've led a couple teams before, like, I'll teach you guys what to do, that, like, and have him be kind of that young mentor to them for a movie or a project, and then go on to his next thing, Spider-Man 4 or whatever it might be. I just think they could have so much fun with this. I need to see Aman Vellani and Tom Holland together on screen.
I was going to say, that would be the cool twist. Maybe in the special presentation, they just can't win. They go against someone they can't win. Spider-Man comes in and just saves the day.
Or like a Daredevil. So.
I would just say if you put Spider-Man, because the cool thing about Spider-Man is that, yes, he is young enough to really interact with them still.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of not star power, but in terms of what he's done within the MCU, he is so above their level.
Right.
They should not be interacting. So that's just another Tuesday for him, whatever, like he just swings by and just comes in, destroys whoever it is that they're fighting. Yeah. Then he's like, hey, keep at it. I know what you've been through. Keep going. And that kind of support, I think, would really, that little rub of like greatness together, that's going to shoot the Young Avengers. If they do something like that, that's going to shoot them into the stratosphere. Especially if he talks to like Iman Vellani, bro, that's gonna shoot her into a different plane of existence.
Imagine her being like, "You can join us," and he's like, "Nah, I don't think so." And the Kate Bishop is like, "I'm older than you," and he's like, "No," and she's like, "No." Like they give all the reasons why he should be a young Avenger, and he's just like, "No," like
No.
Yeah, because
I'm
Sony
big
won't
time.
let me.
He's like, "I have a contractual obligation to not join your team."
Yeah. He's like, I'm surprised you even remember who I am.
Yeah. Oh.
Ooh,
Well, they wouldn't
that's
know
true,
him,
too.
but
She's
would
got
just know
intel though.
Spider-Man.
She's got a clear iPad. She knows who Spider-Man is.
That is true. That is true. Rome's bringing up a good point that Patriot was teased in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So, Isaiah
Oh,
Bradley's
yes.
grandson.
He was.
So
He was.
would be interesting. All I know is I'm excited. I'm excited for everything that
Maybe
they put up.
Ghost or someone from the Thunderbolts too could always
Oh, they're all dead.
Oh, they're too old though.
Superman's gonna take him out, dog.
Isn't Ghost pretty young though?
Ghost is young, but she's like 30 young.
Yeah,
Not
she's
16, 18 young.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, a little bit older. Future's bright. The future is bright. This is probably one of my favorite live streams that we've done. There was a lot in this one, so
There was a lot.
yeah, we appreciate everyone who joined us live. If you're watching this after it's been posted to our YouTube channel, we appreciate you as well. Listen, don't forget to join us next Wednesday at 9:05 Eastern for our Wednesday live stream, where we're going to be discussing the latest super news, reviews, and insider scoops. Also, catch the full episode of our podcast anywhere that you listen. We will be having some exclusive interviews on there, so stay tuned, stay close to our socials to see who our guests are going to be. It's going to be really fantastic. We have some really cool things lined up here. But also, if you did watch the Madam Web trailer today or this week or in the delay, let us know your thoughts over at the Point3 Podcast on Instagram or TikTok so that we can feature your comments in our next review episode. But until then, all you Point3 people, keep watching, keep reading, and keep nerding out. One of us have to end it. I'm stuck in my screen here.
Hold on.